What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back in the video. It's Friday, time to go my favorite underdog plays in week 9. Coming off our 4th best week ever, 17-6 overall, but Darnell Mooney sold us, preventing us from a monster week. Feel pretty good about things this week. We'll start off with the big play of the week. I really like Tyler Warren, higher than 58.5 receiving yards, and DK Metcalf, higher than 62.5 receiving yards, and that Colts at Steelers game. For years now, the Steelers have been incapable of stopping people over the middle of the field, whether that is tight ends, whether that is slot wide receivers. Anyone running near their linebackers is open all the time. This season, no different. They're one of just 3 teams that boost targets, catch rate, and yards per reception to tight ends. You haven't totally been able to figure out or see, I guess, clearly how bad they've been, because at points this season they've faced teams that haven't really utilized the tight end position. But last week, 7 for 143 from Tucker Kraft. Noah Fant, of all people, 4 for 44 and a touchdown the week before. Cleveland tight ends had over 100 receiving yards week before that. Hunter Henry, best game of his season, 8 for 90 before that. So this is a fantastic spot for Tyler Warren, who already on his own, not even necessarily in amazing matchups, has higher than 58.5 receiving yards in 5 of 8 games in his rookie season. And the 3 that he didn't, when he was lower than 58.5 receiving yards, 21-point win, 34-point win, 24-point win. So in these huge blowouts where they've just crushed teams, that's when he's not going higher than 58.5. The spread this week is a surprisingly close 3 points. So the betting market is not expecting another 20-point win for Indy this weekend. My model has it a little bit wider, 5.5 points for the Colts. But regardless, we shouldn't expect a blowout, right? This is not like last week where, I think Vegas had it like 14. My model had it at 17 points over the Titans. It's not like that. This is still a spot where it should be a relatively close game throughout, meaning the Colts should have to remain aggressive all game. And to be honest, even in some of these big time games, they've still remained aggressive at times. Just again, when you start to get up 21, 34 points, that's when you start to not really have to throw the ball to your tight end. On the other side, only 2 teams have allowed a boost to wide receiver targets, wide receiver catch rate, and wide receiver yards per reception: the Giants and the Colts. The Colts are actually the single best schedule-adjusted matchup for fantasy points allowed to wide receivers. Fantasy points has Metcalf as the 7th best matchup advantage on the week among all wide receivers. So I like taking both of them, both as a normal pick, just doing, again, higher than 58.5 receiving yards for Warren, 62.5 receiving yards for DK Metcalf. But then I also took Tyler Warren, higher than 79.5 receiving yards, DK Metcalf, higher than 99.5 receiving yards. That is 13.7x once you apply the boost that everyone has in the lobby today. Not tomorrow, not the next day, on Friday. Everyone has unlimited boosts in the lobby, and then the regular pick once you apply the boost is 4x, not 3x. But again, you have to place those on Friday. I don't know, maybe Saturday, maybe Sunday, maybe they throw something else at you that you can use. But I know on Friday you have unlimited boosts in the lobby, so definitely sign up today, not tomorrow, if you want access to that. And as always, if you use promo code FFA, make at least a $5 pick. They'll give you $100 in bonus funds, and then also I'll email you the following morning, give you access to my rankings, detailed projections for free for the rest of the season. All right, how about some solo picks I also like? I love Terrance Ferguson, higher than 8.5 receiving yards. Sounds weird, but it's only 8.5 receiving yards. He's highly athletic. He can get there on 1 reception. The team drafted him to be the tight end of the future, and they were pumped that he fell to them with the 14th pick of round 2. He's balled out whenever been given the opportunity, right? He hasn't had a monster game in the regular season, but he looked great in the preseason, great in camp over the summer. Whenever they've given him opportunities, you can see the athleticism, you can see what they were excited to get when they drafted him, and the snaps have been trending in the right direction leading up to the bye. He's kind of on that Gadsden arc. I don't want to compare him to Gadsden because Gadsden's like a true breakout, but Gadsden started the season straight up not playing. Then we watched every single week, the snaps get higher and higher and higher. And we're like, hey, maybe we should pay attention to this. Someone that they were liking a lot in camp this season. and then he starts to just go nuclear, right? It's been the same thing. Didn't really play for Terrance Ferguson to start the year, but then 32% of the offensive snaps in week 6, 48% in week 7. Then they go on bye. We know rookies historically have that post-bye bump. So I really think he's going to go out there. He's going to play over half the snaps and 8.5 receiving yards. We don't exactly need a lot of production for that one to hit. The Saints aren't like a smash matchup for tight ends or anything. I also think the Rams win big, so I don't think there's going to be like a ton of pass attempts in the second half of this one. But I do think they increase his role. He legit needs 1 reception for this one to hit, so I really like it. And I also like if you can find some sort of like ladder on him. If you can get like 20 receiving yards, 30 receiving yards at really boosted outcomes there, I would take a shot on that. Again, I don't think it's like super likely the kid goes out there and has 60 receiving yards or anything, but if you can get like 20 or 30, I like that. If we see the boost in the role, if we see them want to get him a couple design looks, again, it doesn't take that many receptions. In his last game, he had 1 catch for 31 yards, so he can do this on 1 reception. Obviously, that's kind of the high end of the outcome there, but if he puts together 2 or 3 receptions, I don't know. I like taking higher on some bigger numbers there. Another spot I like is this Vikings at Lions game, specifically the Vikings passing attack. I truly do not know how good JJ McCarthy is, but I don't think that he's awful, and I don't think the market knows either, but they're kind of assuming that he's awful. I also think it's really likely that the Lions win this week, that they get up early, and that it's going to force a very pass-heavy game script in the second half of the game for the Vikings. I do think they're going to try and run the ball, but I think in the second half it's going to be clear you're going to have to throw to catch up, and so we should see a lot of second half pass attempts for McCarthy. McCarthy has enough playmakers around him and such a good coaching staff that if they do fall behind, and he does have to throw the ball a lot in the second half, I do think that everyone can hit here because the underdog projections, honestly, are just not very high. Like, they just aren't. Like, sit back and think about, what do you think the underdog projection should be for Addison, Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, and in terms of receiving yards and then passing yards for J.J. McCarthy? Like, think about what you think it would be in a game like this. I did, and I did not expect them to be this low. J.J. McCarthy, 211.5 passing yards. Addison, just 44.5 receiving yards. T.J. Hawkinson, 26.5 receiving yards. And then Aaron Jones, 13.5 receiving yards. I don't know. It feels like those guys are going to get plenty of usage in a trailing script, in a dome, with great play calling. It just feels like a spot where everyone is assuming McCarthy is trash, and he probably is not that good of a quarterback right now in his career. But those are extremely manageable numbers here on Underdog. And if we get a lot of pass attempts, if he pushes for like 33, 35, 37 pass attempts and really ramps up in the second half, it is not going to be difficult for these guys to rack up some volume and to go higher. And I think the correlation here is great because you're basically saying, can McCarthy have a decent game? Can the Lions get up? The Vikings fall behind. Of course, the Lions are up. The Vikings are falling behind. But can they lean more pass heavy? Can we see a ton of pass attempts? And then everyone should eat here. I didn't include Jefferson because his projection actually seems pretty solid. I think it's in like the upper 70s. But all these other players, it doesn't take that many receptions from the hit. And if the 3 receiving options here are hitting, right? You're getting Addison, you're getting Hawkinson, you're getting Aaron Jones. You know that also McCarthy is going to hit, so you would put his line in there as well. I like taking those 4 and then adding on, because you can't just take those 4 in a pick. I like adding on Laporta, higher than 41.5 receiving yards. Slap on one of your unlimited boosts. You get 17x on those 5. You can't get the full 20x just because the correlation's too high. I mean, they know that like if the 3 receiving options get higher on Minnesota, you know the quarterback is as well. So it'd be a little bit unfair if they were allowing you to get up to full 20x there. But you can get to 17 with the free boost added on there. Truly, all you need is a solid game from McCarthy, a trailing script. All these guys should smash. And I like Laporta just because Minnesota is a really difficult matchup for wide receivers, but they allow a boost to both tight end targets and a boost to tight end catch rate. And so teams tend to lean towards their tight ends a little bit more against them. And Laporta has looked pretty solid this season. I think he's just like a really good player in a really good spot. You need someone on the Detroit side. I don't hate adding on JMO because the thinking there would be Jameson Williams, a very explosive player. Coach speak has been saying, yeah, we've been messing up. We need to get him the ball more. So you've got coach speak on your side, explosive player. If he hits for a 60, 70-yard play, that gets Minnesota right back on the field. So I understand the correlation there. My thing is the matchup is really bad against Minnesota for wide receivers. And then also he hasn't been that good. Like, they're saying these things because they're not getting him involved, and you have to specifically scheme usage to JMO because he's not going to win on his own. So I do still prefer Sam Laporta, but if you don't like Laporta, you want to go JMO, I'm totally fine if you want to do that, but I really like the 4 on Minnesota. Moving on to some other picks. Kareem Hunt, if you are someone who really likes taking touchdowns, I think he scores a touchdown this weekend. Doesn't really matter if Pacheco plays or not because it's not the yardage we're looking at here. It's the usage in the red zone, which whether Pacheco is out there, whether he's not out there, they always go to Kareem Hunt when they get near the goal line. Buffalo's also been gashed by bigger running backs this season. And so I do think when they get close, they'll lean on Kareem Hunt here. I know Kansas City loves to lean pass heavy when they get near the goal line, and they probably will still do that. They'll get in there a couple times, though, and so they're not going to probably have a 100% pass rate inside the 10-yard line. So I think Kareem Hunt's going to get a few opportunities. And fun fact, only 4 running backs have more touchdowns from inside, rushing touchdowns from inside the 5-yard line than Kareem Hunt this season. It is only Javonte Williams, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, and unfortunately, Zach Charbonnet as well. But that's it. And he scored 4 touchdowns on 6 total rush attempts inside the 5. So it's pretty likely he keeps the job. You know, we talk about sometimes being annoyed with Sharps, being annoyed with Kareem Hunt. It's like, you know what? They've been very efficient in that short yardage. Not even close to efficient between the 20s. That should be other running backs. But once they do get inside the 5, it kind of makes sense that they're leaning on these running backs because they've been really good at converting touchdowns. I think Kareem Hunt's going to get an opportunity this weekend, and I think he'll convert. And the matchup I like and don't like also is Bengals wide receivers. So I like higher than 93.5 receiving yards from Jamar Chase. And I don't actually know what the Yoshi line is, but Andre Yosibash, whatever his projection is for Underdog, I like that too as well. And then lower than 51.5 receiving yards for T. Higgins. The reason I say this, not even knowing the line for Yosibash, is because number one, I know it's going to be low. I know it's not going to be very high projection there. But also, the Bears are the best possible matchup for slot wide receivers and the worst possible matchup for outside wide receivers. It's not very common that you get such a split for a team. Usually a team is just really bad or really good. Maybe they're neutral outside, good against the slot. It's not usually we're amazing at shutting down outside wide receivers and horrific at shutting down slot wide receivers, but that is the Bears defense. And so when you have T. Higgins running 85% of his routes on the outside, that's not good. So Yoshi Boss is their slot wide receiver. He would run the most from the slot. I don't necessarily think he gets peppered with targets, so I still prefer Jamar Chase. If you're looking for something, Chase is going to run about a third of his routes from the slot. And you just look at the targets. I mean, my goodness, over the last 2 weeks, and honestly unbelievable, 42 targets over the last 2 weeks for Jamar Chase, 12 for T. Higgins. So again, when you have the matchup also favoring Jamar Chase, I take higher on him. I would take lower on T. Higgins. And again, whatever Yoshivash is, I kind of like higher on that as well. My assumption is it's probably in the 30s. Then finally, Ken Walker, I like him higher than 51.5 rushing yards. Commanders, top 10 matchup for running back rushing efficiency, volume, everything, production. Seahawks are favored in the spot, so that's positive for Ken Walker. Even on the road, they are favorites, even thinking that Jane Daniels is going to play. And then they're expecting their fullback back, Robbie Oates. I think it's Oates, I think how you pronounce it. They like him a lot. He helps them in the run game, so adding him in there, them coming off bye. This is a run team. They want to run the ball. So you better believe that going into the bye, they were like, how do we become more efficient running the football? Like, that has got to be the number one thing they're looking at. Getting Robbie back, that's going to help. I just think coming off bye, self-scouting, seeing what's working, I think they're going to realize that Ken Walker's been hyperly efficient. Again, makes sense that they don't go to him at the goal line because of how good Sharps is, but he's been hyperly efficient between the 20s, whereas Sharps has not been. Bring back the fullback, increase the efficiency here. I think the line should probably be like 57.5, 58.5. So great discount, getting an Underdog projection of 51.5. I like higher than that for Ken Walker. All right, I've got more picks on my website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. And remember to use your Underdog boost today. Don't wait until Saturday or Sunday. They might not be there. You have until midnight, I think midnight Eastern tonight. I don't know if there will be something Saturday or Sunday, so use them now while you can. Also remember, you get $100 in bonus funds and access to both my rankings and detailed projections for the rest of the season if you sign up for your first account using promo code FFA and play at least $5. I would do that and do that today to get access to the boost. Best deal in the industry. Make sure you take advantage. So good luck to everyone this weekend. But that'll do it for this one, and thank you all for watching.